And we are on the air.
Yay.
I'm Fat Bozo,
Hi, Fat Bozo. My name is fihe.
and
Well, that is my username, but that's not my real name.
well, me too. I mean, my real name is Jeff, so feel free to call me that if you want, or just Fat or Bozo or Hey you know, whatever you respond to.
Alright.
So,
Yes.
have you come prepared with a 360-page list of questions, or are we going to have to come up with some something to
No,
talk
I
about?
haven't come prepared with any questions. However, what I would like to ask you, which I think can tell a lot about somebody, is what your career is, because that's something that I'm interested to know about a lot of people I speak to.
Hmm. Well, how do you define career?
What kind of job do you have then?
Okay, because I still have these grand ideas in my head of that I'll have some kind of career in something that I actually
Yeah.
have interest in, as opposed to just my job. But
I see.
um, uh, I am an office manager for a fast food franchise office.
Mm.
And I've been in that job for about 7.5 years now,
Wow.
and I've worked for the company for about 14 years now. So
Jeez.
I've I started as just a regular crew worker in the restaurant, making food, and
Mhm.
serving the customers, and
Wow.
worked my way up over many years and many different positions and places and all that. And now I
Mhm.
get the cushy job in the office where I do paperwork.
Wow, I wish I could do that, but I do work in retail, but I feel like even if I could move up like that, I wouldn't be interested in being a shift supervisor or a store manager. At least not for working for a corporation. Now, if it were, I guess, a very small chain or perhaps just one store that I owned myself, then that's something I would prefer instead.
Yeah, I think for me, it's always been um, whatever it is I'm into, I sink myself into 100%, and I really go hardcore with whatever it is. And so there have been times where my job has actually been the thing I was into. And during those times is when I tended to move up because when I'm in a period like that, then that's where I'm motivated to really kind of shine on the job, and that gets people's attention. And then what tends to happen is when I get kind of bored with that and get into something else, then I tend to kind of plateau and stay at one place for a while. And in the previous jobs of being like a store manager, when that happened, work kind of sucked because what would happen is, I wouldn't quite devote as much effort to the store as I should have been doing, and thus other people around me wouldn't, and then things kind of started to go off the train track, so to speak.
Mhm.
And there was a lot more kind of damage that can happen when you have a manager that's not fully committed to the store. Whereas in the office, it's a little bit kind of a different situation. My ebbs and flows about my interest in the job don't really affect things quite as much because it's a little bit more of a stable situation where, I mean, there are people that look to me to do certain things. There's certain things that I still have to accomplish. I still have deadlines and things, but it's not quite the high pressure type deal as being the actual store manager and things like that. There are still things that can cause stress, but it's not like a constant thing where if I'm not rising to the challenge, then things are just going to go haywire. So it's it's really it's as close to the kind of job that I wanted as I could be at this point. I think because um, long ago I said I knew other people that had jobs where they basically sat at their computer playing Tetris all day and got paid for it. And I said, that would be a pretty awesome job to have. Well, I don't quite have that, but I have about as close to that as you can, and still have a job where you actually are working. So,
That's good. Yeah. I was thinking, especially today, that the reason why, if I would have such a position that I wouldn't want to be part of a corporation, is because the truth is that I want to do things my own way. Even at my job right now, I'm just a cashier. I work in the photo department as well, and I don't like how there's so many things that we can't do because they're dealt with on a corporate level rather than at a store level.
Yeah,
So
well, I understand that very well. I
yeah,
work for a company that definitely does a lot of corporate micromanaging, that's for sure.
yeah, and I don't like it when it seems like the interests of corporate are so different than the interests of the store.
Yeah, well, it's kind of one of those things I see in a lot of areas. I won't get off on a political rant or anything, but I see the same kind of thing in the country as a whole. There's too much stuff trying to be done at like a federal level, and there's so many different diverse communities that are nothing like each other within the country, and so it's kind of hard to try to micromanage all that from one place, whether you're talking about a government system or a business system.
I guess you have a point there. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I've kind of seen a lot of examples of that over my course of my life, so it's kind of one of those recurring themes I've seen that the closer to the actual issues that the attempted solution is, usually the better it works. Not always, but usually. Usually, the closer you are to the problem, the better it is, the easier it is to fix it.
Okay. Yeah, I actually have another job also. I'm also a substitute teacher. That I like because I get to see different students every day, and I could go to the same school all the time or to different schools within the same district, different age groups, different times a day. I could take a day off whenever I want. That's nice.
Yeah, that sounds. I've thought about teaching before. Some aspects of that seem like it would be fun. Um, I just I don't know whether I'd have the patience for it.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but if it's just for if it's middle school or high school where there's different periods in the day and you get a different class each time, then if you have students that are really bothering you, at least you're only going to have them for so much time in the day.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Okay, well, let me ask you, and you don't have to give me exact details. Obviously, I'm not stalking you. I promise. But
Okay.
but where are you from?
Oh, I live in New Jersey, United States.
And have you lived there your whole life, or did you come from somewhere else?
No, I've lived here my whole life.
Okay. Well, I just asked because it was, you have kind of a unique voice, so I wasn't sure exactly if it was an accent that I just didn't know where it was from, or whether it was just your unique way of speaking. So,
Everyone says that. I was born here and I speak English as a first language.
yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, I think there's, some elements of people's voices are just kind of like unique to them. So,
I
I
mean,
say be,
yeah,
I say be proud of it.
yeah.
Thing is, I've lived in Texas since I was 6 years old, and when I talk to people outside of Texas and I tell them that, a lot of times I get people who say, "Well, you don't sound like you're from Texas,"
Uh,
and they say that because they think that we all sound like J.R. Ewing or something,
yeah.
or we're all supposed to have cowboy hats on and be like, "Hey, yo!" And if we don't, then we don't sound like we're from Texas. So,
Yeah, I mean,
um,
I don't know. It could be because my parents they don't speak English as a first language. My
well,
I
that
don't.
certainly factors in, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, my mom she came to the United States when she was young, so I think that she speaks just fine. But my dad he has a heavy accent.
And where did they come from?
My dad is Italian. He wasn't born in Italy, but um he his family went back there shortly after he was born. My mom was born in Brazil, and both of them speak several languages.
Wow, cool. I am in the position of, my parents were both born in the United States,
Um,
but my mother was adopted and knows absolutely nothing about her, biological family. So
oh wow.
my dad traced his family back quite a bit to Europe and all that, but really, it's kind of one of those things where I could pretty much claim to be of any, ethnic origin because I don't really know, no, we don't know where my mom's family was from, so
Yeah.
there's many possibilities.
That's true.
I mean, I can make some guesses in looking at my mother,
Mm-hmm.
that like, her parents were probably not like African tribal people or something like that. There's certain things I can figure they probably weren't, but I don't know for sure what they actually were.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was actually born in New Jersey myself,
Oh.
but I lived there for about the first 4 months of my life. So surprisingly, I don't have any memories from
Well,
my time
may
in New
I ask
Jersey.
what city you were born in?
Yes, I was born in Denville.
Oh, my one of my professors was from there. I was
Yeah,
born in New Brunswick.
cool. And my parents didn't actually live in Denville. They lived in a smaller town called Succasunna,
Oh yeah, I heard of that place.
and but there's not a hospital there, so they had to go to Denville for me to actually be born. So
Yeah, my town doesn't have a hospital either.
yeah. Um, so I was actually surprised because for a long time I never really, I mean, I knew that I was born in New Jersey and I knew the name of the town, but I didn't really, think much about it because, like I said, I didn't have any memories from there, so I didn't really, research anything about it.
Hmm.
And then, years later, when they had the internet access and all that, I kind of looked up where it actually was, and I was surprised how close it was to New York City, because the thing that I kind of forget being in Texas is down here you can go for 500-600 miles and you're still in Texas. Whereas in the Northeast, I look at a map and realize that if I traveled the same distance I did here in Texas, I would have like crossed 5 states.
Yeah, I like
So
that here. It's so much easier to get to places. Everything's close. Even if you do have to drive everywhere, rather than living somewhere where you could take the bus or train.
yeah, the only thing I noticed about when I was looking at like Google Maps and things about up there is that you have also have a lot more toll roads up there than we do. So things
Yeah,
may things may be closer together, but they're like, yeah, pay up.
yeah. Like when I was doing my student teaching my last semester of college, it was 45 minutes from my house, the school I had to go to, and I had to pay over $5 in toll per way.
Well, and see here in Texas, um, the governor actually was behind a plan that would have made like a cross-state toll road, and people got so up in arms about that it almost cost him re-election because they were so angry about this. So
Yeah, people
it's
do
definitely a different environment. Like the idea of charging Texans to drive on the road is we have a problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, here people were upset when the tolls were raised, but it happened anyway. And also, I don't know, like the fact that I had to pay over $10 a day and use a quarter tank of gas a day when I had to do my student teaching, and it's through the school, so you don't even get paid at all.
No,
And I couldn't work except on weekends, so that was kind of difficult for me.
all right.
Yeah.
Well,
What
now that
about
we
you?
know everything about each other, I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
I said it would have been nice to if my university could partially at least reimburse me for gas.
Yeah, I had a job working actually at the Texas A&M campus, and I had to pay parking fees every single day.
Ah,
So that was part of the reason that I didn't work there very long.
yeah, that's dumb. They should have given you a parking permit.
Yeah, see, it's kind of one of those bureaucratic things where it's like, yeah, I could do that, but it was like a long process. It wasn't like something where you just go to one place and fill one thing out and it takes like 2 minutes or something. It
Oh my.
it and I also am really lazy, so you have to factor that in as well. So, I was in my early 20s at that point, and somebody being like, "You're going to need to go to three different buildings and do some different things," like something like that was just like, yeah, I'll do that later, and then I would never get around to doing it. So
That's cool. Wait, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I am 36.
Oh, I would have guessed 35.
Hey, you're close.
I'm 22.
Usually people guess that I'm older than I am because I guess to most people I look older. I think since I got since I was a teenager, like 15 or 16. People have always thought I was older than I am, but so you you've come closer than most people do.
Uh, the reason why I thought that is because of your the work history.
Oh, you just kind of did math and figured, well, if I was there 14 years, and
Yeah.
that probably started when I was 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's almost exactly right. I was actually 21 when I started working there, and I turned 22 later that same year. So,
Mm.
and then uh, the following year was when my son was born. So he's
Oh,
uh,
that's
he's
not.
13 now.
Oh, uh, I don't have any children.
Well, there's plenty of time for that, and enjoy your childless life while you have it.
No, I don't want it. It's okay. I'm fine.
Yeah, no, I definitely uh, have plenty of times where I am frustrated being a parent, but it definitely is not something that I in any way regret. I've enjoyed spending time with my son so much over his life, and
Oh,
he's really helped me to be grounded and to mature and learn a lot about life that I probably wouldn't have if I didn't have
okay.
him there. So um,
Great.
he's been a tremendous positive influence on my life, as much as there may be some times where he can drive me up the wall.
Oh, I see. That's good.
Yeah, and the real, when it comes to like the personality type stuff, he's really kind of helped me in that area too because we're both SP types, but he's an STP, you
Um,
know, either ESTP or ISTP.
mm,
And so we have that kind of so close but yet so far relationship where, our basic motivations are very much the same,
mm-hmm.
but we can still have some major conflicts on that whole TF level. There
Yeah.
are definitely some things where I can't grasp how he can seemingly be so inconsiderate of people's feelings, and he can't grasp how I can be so like emotionally attached to things and people.
Yeah. That's like
So
me and
that
my mom.
yeah.
It's
So it's kind of a interesting dynamic. Is that when he tells me when I ask him a question like why did you do something, I already know the answer. The answer is because he felt like it. But he's going to say, I don't know why I did this because at his age he doesn't know. He just felt like doing it, so that's what he says. And the thing is, I can fully understand that and still be frustrated by it, but at the same time. So it's like in some ways I'm watching myself grow up again, and even with having been myself and having the knowledge of everything that I went through in my life, I still can't seem to help him any better than I would if it was me. So it's kind of one of those things people say, well, if they could go back in time, or if they could, send a letter to themselves or things like that, what would you say? I've always thought, it doesn't matter what you would have said because yourself at the earlier age wouldn't listen to you.
hmm Yeah. Sorry, I was getting a little distracted because I was reading something here.
That's okay. I've bored many a person, so you're not the first.
It's not just you. It's just I don't know. I have been trying to multitask.
Yeah, see, I the closest I come to multitasking is like, you know, writing or typing something while listening to music or listening to a baseball game or something like that. I
Yeah.
tend to otherwise pretty much focus on one thing at a time.
hmm I feel like I actually have trouble focusing on more than one thing at once, though, because right now I was reading something and typing a response, and feel like it's difficult to pay attention to that and to you speaking, because I don't know. Apparently, I can only have attention on one thing at once. I guess that might make me a bad worker. I don't know.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it depends on what you're working on, I guess. Uh, I think when it comes to certain things, it's really good to have the ability or the general instinct to focus on one thing at a time. When I think about something like athletics, like baseball, if you're a baseball player up at the plate trying to hit the ball, it's pretty good to be only focused on trying to hit the baseball and not thinking about a dozen other things. Because if you're doing that, then most likely you're not going to do very well. So, you know, there's some jobs, I guess, that require a lot of multitasking, and others where it actually hampers you if you have to do that.